2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Show. That was a better hello. This is take two. That was a much better hello this time. Marcus, how are you? Welcome in to the NESN Soccer Podcast. I'm Mark with Marcus. Now we can start.
I'm taken aback by your hello. It was vigorous, and you might have just saved the podcast.
Yeah, I think I might have just woken us both up.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we were quite ready.
No, not for that.
So we're sitting here in the midst of maybe the most boring international break that is in existence. The first one after a World Cup. These friendlies and UEFA Nations League matches, I think everyone struggles to find meaning for why we're doing them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest question coming out of the weekend was, what is UEFA Nations League? and what does it mean? I did a little bit of research into it after we had talked yesterday, but did you want to sort of just
lay it out?
Yeah, lay it out there.
You actually hit the nail on the head. This is the most boring international break because it's the first one after the World Cup. The UEFA Nations League is an attempt by UEFA to make something interesting, and other confederations are doing this or will be doing this going forward. Make something interesting out of this 1 year after the World Cup period. So what they're doing is dividing the continent up into 3 levels. It's like the A League, the B League, and the C League. And within those leagues, there are groups. And the group winners promote or relegate. In the A League, the group winners will go to a playoff round that will take place in June. And there'll be a semifinal and a final. Yeah. And it'll be a little something a little bit more interesting than your average friendly that will mark the end of the European season. Well, these are competitive games that I believe will affect their ranking for the Euros, for the Euro draws and the World Cup draws, things like that. And they're also, these games are played by regular rules. No mass substitutions. No. I don't know what else goes on in friendlies. I don't really watch them. Yeah, so they're competitive. Semi-competitive,
right?
But judging from Spain's win over Croatia, not that competitive.
So
I don't even know, was that Nations League or friendly? I think that was Nations League.
It was Nations League. Yeah, I saw that score. But
competitive with a small c.
Is it just grasping for something that is unnecessary? Are you putting too much on just players to have just another serious competition, as I say with quoting fingers, on the schedule? Or can we just, take these sort of breaks for what they are, and it's a chance to throw out some younger players and just enjoy the friendlies and
they're going to play the games anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well make them mean something. I think that's the thinking.
Yeah.
The games will be played, whether they're friendlies or Nations League or whatever you want to call it. So you might as well make it mean. I think, I can't really tell how much more interest there is versus your average friendly. I don't even know how we would measure that. But, I mean, it's not great, but
it is what it is.
Beats waiting 2 weeks with nothing.
That's true. I guess I was looking at the UEFA Nations League scores, and it's hard to get excited for any friendlies. So I was looking through and I saw Turkey beat Sweden 3-2. I'm like, that's a close game with a lot of goals. So I was let me just check out what happened in this game. And Turkey was trailing 2-0, and maybe in a friendly, Turkey ended up winning 3-2. Maybe in a friendly, Turkey would then sub out 6 players and the game would roll on and it would just be nothing of interest to anyone.
Right.
And in this, they come back and win the game 3-2. I would guess because it's kind of that can happen in a friendly, sure, but I guess that kind of takes place because it's competitive and it, there's incentive for Turkey to come back in the game and actually win it.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll just sort of lead to more competitive games, which would then, I think, spark interest. Like, you're not just going to have interest from fans just because UEFA says they want them to.
Well, I mean, fans will be interested if international soccer is going on.
Right.
The question is, will they be more interested, more likely to watch, more likely to buy tickets, more likely to spend money?
Yeah.
At least that's what I think UEFA is more concerned about.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, if we start to see that, like, the nations themselves are really behind this and being competitive with it, and, you know, it's not going to be as competitive as, you know, a Euros or even maybe like, or if it can get to be like, say, a Confederations Cup level of competition, like, that I think is what would really generate interest, is when, you know, okay, these teams are taking this seriously, they're competing, like, as a fan, you're going to, like, be interested in that because it's a high level. Yeah. I guess that's my idea.
Yeah, so maybe a little higher level than a friendly.
Mm-hmm. Well, enough Nations League, I guess.
Unless is there any more you want to say on it?
Not really. No. USA had a couple friendlies. They lost to Brazil 2-0, and they defeated Mexico 1-0. Mm-hmm. Both games were in the U.S. Did we learn anything about the U.S. national team from these two matches?
How would I know?
I don't think you do.
I didn't watch. I barely watched. I might have watched 45 minutes of U.S. national team action in the last year. Mm-hmm. I think I said it last December or January that after the World Cup qualifying debacle, just kind of wanted the team to go away for a while, or not play again until March 2019.
Which, of course, they're going to play.
Yeah, no, they're playing. They're selling tickets. The games are being broadcast. But I'm not watching it. Christian Pulisic has played all of 89 minutes for the United States since last October.
Yeah.
Michael Bradley has played 0. Josie Altidore has played 0. Mm-hmm. Until these guys are on the field, and this is the United States' A team, or, you know, at least a team of seasoned professionals, until these guys are on the field, I'm going to struggle to devote any attention to them, and at least until there's a new coach. You know, this thing about bringing youngsters in and showing them the ropes and the expectations and the environment. How can they do that when they're playing alongside each other?
Right.
How do they learn what it really means to be a national team pro when there's nobody there to really teach them?
Yeah.
These are, I'm boycotting them. So I don't know what we learned because I didn't watch.
Well, yeah, so I mean, that's what we were saying, is why haven't we been watching when we met yesterday? And I think I'm pretty much along the same lines as you, is that, but the not having a coach in particular has made it difficult for me, because it's like the team has been staying at step 0 for an entire year. And I understand we wanted, or the U.S. men's national team wanted to wait until the end of the World Cup. That makes a ton of sense. But now the general manager, Ernie Stewart, after talking with media, I guess over the weekend, said that there would be a new coach picked before the end of 2019, possibly by
2018.
Or 2018. Sorry,
Jeez.
Possibly by this November, which I speculated, and you know, we don't want to do too much speculation. But
no, you can. I don't.
The MLS season ends in November, and the World Cup has been over for a good amount of time. So it makes me think that it'll be an MLS coach, which is, you know, neither good nor bad, but it's just like I can't, you know, dive into the U.S. national team until there's some sort of direction which comes from the coach. And all the young players in the world, you know, it's exciting when you're following a good team and they bring in 1 or 2 youngsters that are helping, and like it's part of the process.
I can get 20 kids from Cambridge, Massachusetts, throw U.S. jerseys on them, that doesn't make it Team USA.
Right, exactly. Like, we aren't watching Team USA, and I feel like people are thinking, oh.
And don't sell me this idea that we're watching Team USA of the future. Because if you go back to the Olympic team of 2012, and, you know, these guys are all pretty much the ones playing for USA now. It's a glorified under-23 team. Go back and look at those names and see who's still there, who's prominent 6 years later.
Right.
This tells you what you need to know about soccer players in their early 20s.
It is kind of a thing where it seems, at least like if you follow U.S. soccer on various social media, it's like, you know, there's this idea that they're super pushing these young players. And I would say, like you just said it, the Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley, and these players haven't been in the team, and there hasn't been a truly competitive match.
There hasn't been a team.
Right.
And this is maybe what I find most problematic about all this is because everybody talks about how patriotic they are, how much wearing the crest and representing the country means to them, and how important it is. And, you know, this is also, you know, we wave the flag, and Christian Pulisic has a bald eagle tattoo. I don't know if it's on his arm or his leg.
Arm, I think.
If it was so important to represent the country, if you are, I don't know, I don't want to beat up on Michael Bradley. I love Michael Bradley as a player. If you are Michael Bradley and the United States is playing and you are the captain, you say, I'm the captain of this team. I'm banging on the door of the coach or the general manager or the president of U.S. Soccer saying, put me in the team. Let's put this team together. This is our team. It's for one nation, one team. Why are these guys not there? Why is everybody's kind of complicit with this charade that we have of, we're just going to play the kids in these games and we're going to schedule high level competition and then see how the kids do against them.
Yeah.
Why is Josie Altidore not banging down the door? Why is U.S. Soccer President Carlos Cordero not banging down Josie Altidore's door? It's kind of like everybody knows this is a bit of a charade, and everybody's going along with it.
Yeah.
And it's leaving a months-long bad taste in my mouth.
Well, it's a months-long bad taste because they're wasting months of time, in my opinion, in developing the program.
Not even developing. It's, you know, it's the country. They played Mexico, the biggest rival, on 9/11.
Yeah.
And they played the kids. Nothing against the kids.
And when they played Brazil, Brazil had, it wasn't just Neymar, Brazil had their guys.
I didn't even watch that game.
Yeah.
I watched about 15 minutes in the first half, and then I realized, you know, how Brazil was in first gear for most of that.
Let's skip to like the point of what I think is the reason that this is bad, and I think that the reason you're trying to say that this is bad is that you can have like just these players being eliminated or being part of the team that was unable to qualify for the World Cup doesn't mean that they suddenly are not the best players, most talented players that the U.S. has to offer.
True.
And by simply just not having them in the team and having these young kids doesn't mean that these young kids are suddenly like better than Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley.
Hell
and like
no,
they
they're
have
not.
to beat them out. They
You have to
push
take
them
that
out.
spot, right?
And I just hope that at some point that's going to happen. That at some point there's going to be a camp or a few camps in a row.
6 years from now. I don't want to hear or read anything quote unquote patriotic or jingoistic coming out of U.S. soccer about how important it is to play for the country because they didn't qualify for the World Cup. Does that mean it's no longer important to play for your country? Does that mean you're less proud to be an American? Does that mean, and once again, I'm not putting all the blame on the players here because U.S. soccer is also, you know, whatever agreement or handshake and a wink that they've that they've come to, where everybody gets to take a year-long break, but players are still going out onto the field wearing the shirt. The shirt is just as important to me now as it was a year ago when the World Cup was still a possibility.
Yeah.
Why are these guys who, allegedly take so much pride in wearing the shirt not wearing the shirt now? What is going on that this is happening? I
mean, so do you think in the 4 remaining friendlies within the year that should change? So these veteran
I don't
guys,
see that changing before next March.
And so if that's the case,
I will not be devoting much or any of my time. I had planned to watch both games before coming into the studio so I could have something to say about what we learned, and no, nothing. I'm sure some of these kids are good now and they're going to be very good. I'm sure some of them you'll never hear from again. But why am I watching? And why are they selling me a bag of magic beans, telling me just wait?
Right. Well, there's certainly I don't want to just bash the teams that did play. There's certainly a lot of young talent that will be part of the senior team.
I wish them nothing but the best in the future.
But no, I see what you're saying with the senior team that we haven't seen in a year.
It's only been 11 months.
There should be a mix going on.
Yeah. Where is Tim Howard? Where is, or maybe not Tim Howard. I don't even know what the pecking order looks like.
It's tough. It's tough to keep track when they aren't there.
I guess DeAndre Yedlin was there. John Brooks was there.
Well, we can't go forever on the U.S. team.
I think I've said my piece.
But I'm concerned just with how things have sort of shaped out and just how there's like this gaping hole of head coach, of manager.
Yeah.
That whoever is, I have a feeling there's going to be like, obviously a large group of people picking this person, and I think the head coach has to be the main voice to the players and in charge of what's happening and have serious influence on the players. And I'm afraid that whoever is picked could end up being just this sort of chess piece of U.S. soccer, that you do this when we tell you, you say this when we tell you. I'm just afraid that it'll fall into this sort of, and end up being this person that really isn't making too many decisions for himself.
Because of the existence of the general manager?
I guess. I mean, it's pure speculation, but
it's a possibility.
It's just a kind of a fear I have, and the longer it goes without having picked the coach, the more I'm sort of fearful.
Coach will be less important.
I guess, yeah, right?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I'd never thought of that.
Well, this has been a very depressing.
Yeah, we've had nothing but time to consider these things. No, there's definitely Ernie Stewart. I don't have any confirmation on this, but I think I can suggest reasonably accurately, with journalistic integrity, that when things hit the fan with previous coaches, players could go directly to Sunil Gulati with their concerns. They're saying Jurgen Klinsmann's not working out or whatever. Disgruntled players could go straight to the president of U.S. Soccer. And now I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think it's going to be Ernie Stewart's there sort of as a heat shield, or at least the buffer between the team and the federation. Which will be interesting. Whether that undermines the coach, I don't necessarily think so, especially if it's the right hire, whoever that may be, somebody that can get these players to be better than the sum of their parts through clever man management and motivation. But yeah, I don't think he's necessarily going to be undermined. I think it's going to be kind of a two-headed monster, where the coach will be the face of the U.S. soccer team, and Ernie Stewart, the general manager, will be the maybe the brain behind it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about something more positive, or a little more fun at least. Sure. And that there's several fascinating stories around international friendlies this week. One that we didn't talk about in our meeting yesterday, and it's not really even a story, just as much as like this happened. France played their first home game since winning the World Cup.
Yes.
And they had like sort of a celebration.
Yes.
I guess what would be sort of the final official celebration.
It was actually the first and last. So when they, the day after they won the World Cup, they came back to France with the trophy and had a parade down the Champs-Élysées, which is, the famous boulevard in Paris.
Right.
Do you know how long they had at that iconic location?
How long they had?
How long the team was given to celebrate there?
No.
15 minutes.
Are you kidding me?
15 minutes.
Why?
I don't know. They're in a state of emergency in France.
I guess.
I don't know if that's why, but maybe something else was going on.
I would have to.
There might have been a military parade.
What else could have been going on?
Yes, their party was very short.
Yeah.
And I remember, because when it happened, I was kind of struck by the lack of video, and it was just you could see the buses going down the Champs-Élysées, and then they met on a stage, and then that was about it. It wasn't this hours-long thing.
Yeah.
So the party that they had after, who'd they play? I watched part of this game too.
Oh, in the friendly?
Yeah.
They played Netherlands. The
Netherlands. Yes. After they beat the Netherlands, then they had their real party at the Stade de France, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was.
Olivier Giroud scored.
Yeah, so
well, I mean, he didn't hit the net in the whole tournament.
I know.
He scores in this game.
Yeah, it's typical.
But yeah, so
the celebrations
good for them.
Were first class.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it. The whole stadium singing the Conte song. Every player was doing their little dance on the way out to the trophy. It was, I guess, better late than never.
Right.
Is it 3 months after?
Yeah, it's pretty long.
2 months after they won the World Cup, they finally get to really revel in it and sort of take their individual bows.
Well, it's kind of cool that it's so far later, because it's kind of like, remember when we won the World Cup?
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah. But one thing about this France team, I have to say publicly, I've been saying it privately, they didn't wow me with their play.
Yeah.
I think anybody that listens to this podcast.
I was going to say, you've definitely said that.
Yeah. That's no secret that I didn't care too much at the time about the France team, largely because of the way they played. I appreciate them more and more with the passage of time because of their spirit, their camaraderie, their individual personalities, which are coming out in these social media videos that are great. I love this France team now because they're so together.
Yeah.
They're so
bonded forever.
There's a real spirit in that group that I can appreciate.
Well, another just fascinating story of a friendly taking place is George Weah played in a friendly. He played. He's 51.
Yeah.
Played 79 minutes for Liberia. They lost 2-1. Who'd they play? Ivory Coast?
Wasn't.
It doesn't even matter. That's not really the point. George Weah hasn't played in I don't know how long.
2003 is when he retired.
15 years.
Yes, he retired 15 years ago. Since then, He's since become a senator in Liberia, a failed presidential candidate in Liberia, and he is now the president of Liberia.
Successful president candidate.
Who played in an international friendly yesterday.
I can't.
Or
like,
the day before.
Has a leader
friendly
of a nation
against Nigeria.
Wow. Has a leader of a nation ever played in a friendly?
I have
first question.
I have no idea. They retired his number 14.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was why they were. Well, that's what I guess was originally supposed to happen.
He led the team out as captain. Played 79 minutes.
He better be captain.
Yeah, 79 minutes. Could you imagine that? You're the president of the country, but not the captain of the national team. 79 minutes. His last international game was in 2002.
I kind of want to get like a full, an all 22 shot of this game and just have George Weah highlighted the whole time and just watch how it, like his, just every movement.
I don't know. FIFA World Player of the Year in 1995. That was 23 years ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And to cap it all off, cherry on top, Timothy Weah, his son, who I think most U.S. fans are familiar with at this point.
And excited about, rightfully so.
He also played an international friendly for the U.S. on the same day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's ever happened, where a father and a son have played an international friendly on the same day, let alone for different countries, because you would think that that wouldn't necessarily be the case all the time. And it's just fascinating.
It is. I think that's all we can say about it. That is an incredible, it's not even a coincidence, but I'd love to see them play against each other somehow. I mean, if we're going to play meaningless friendlies, you might as well schedule Liberia and get Timothy Weah against George Weah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Why has that not happened?
Yeah.
I've yet to sort of read any sort of analysis on how he actually was playing, but it almost doesn't really matter. And yeah, you got anything else on George Weah?
No, I hope he does a good job as president of Liberia. Makes Liberia great.
So again, sure. Final story.
Wow.
Is I'll let you kind of take this. Hugo Lloris.
Hugo Lloris. I would have marked now, and listeners, I would have loved to devote this entire podcast to this story because I spent the first 6 hours of yesterday's workday laughing about it. Let me preface it by saying drunk driving is no laughing matter. Don't do it. It's not cool. It's not funny. But if there was ever a case where it is kind of funny, it is in the case of Hugo Lloris, the captain of Tottenham Hotspur and France, the World Cup winner. His DUI arrest is the funniest DUI you will ever hear about, and I'm going to tell you why. Hugo Lloris, and these details came out yesterday, September 12th, when he appeared in court. On August 24th, roughly 7 weeks after he won the World Cup, 5 weeks after he won the World Cup, he was driving a new Porsche. It's a key detail. And it was stopped at 2:30 in the morning on August 24th. After police saw him driving erratically, veering toward parked cars, and then he corrected himself at the last second, almost clipping them. And then he drove through a red light. Now, Mark, I asked you yesterday, how fast do you think he was going?
I think I said something like 80 miles an hour.
He was going 15 miles an hour. Now, I don't know if...
It's very slow.
Yes. Most professional soccer players, certainly at Tottenham, can run 15 miles an hour without much trouble. So I put
Hugo
myself...
Lloris, he could probably run at 50 miles an hour.
Hugo Lloris probably could. Sure, he's a World Cup winner. Hugo Lloris could not control his automobile at 15 miles an hour. He's in a brand new Porsche. If you take that car out of neutral and let it roll, I'm fairly certain it will hit 15 miles an hour, because that Porsche can go from 0 to 60 in probably 5 seconds. That means if you so much as touch the gas pedal, you're probably going to be hitting 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. Hugo Lloris was doing 15 and got a DUI. And I will, I don't like to speculate too much. I will speculate that Hugo Lloris did not hit the gas pedal and he got a DUI, which to me is funny. One day later, I still can't believe it. I said, I put myself in his drunken mind, which is like, hey, I'm going to be safe, and I'll just roll us home. He had to be helped out of the car by police. He was really drunk, obviously too drunk to drive, which is not cool and it's not funny.
No.
But if you are going to be arrested for DUI, I think in his drunken mind, he was like, yeah, I'll keep it safe and just roll.
I guess it sort of makes sense.
I think in a new Porsche will hit 15 miles an hour if you just take it out of neutral.
Yeah, probably.
It's Porsche. It's a high-performance machine. Did he touch the gas pedal? And how do you not control? He couldn't control a car that was going slower than his teammates run. Unbelievable. I love it. I love everything about this story except for the fact that he was driving drunk and putting other people at risk. Was he even driving? is like a rolling DUI? Does that count as a DUI if you don't touch the gas pedal?
I think it counts.
Counts. Certainly a moving violation, but.
We were going to get into some Tottenham fallout, but I don't think that really matters, and we're running short on time.
Yes, well, he's injured. I was wondering. He injured himself. I think it was against Man United, but it was. When was that game? It was right around the time of his arrest, and I suggested that, when he was first arrested, he played the next game, but then he was out of the team after that, and I think it was because, well, I learned today that he had injured himself in that game, but I thought yesterday that it was a case of once Tottenham found out the details of this case, they just dropped him. Said, like, this is so ridiculous. 15 miles an hour? I can go outside and run 15 miles an hour, no problem.
Speaking of Tottenham, they are featured in one of the games of the weekend.
It's my favorite DUI ever.
Tottenham takes on Liverpool.
Yes.
We have 2 games of the weekend.
Yeah.
Tottenham takes on Liverpool, 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. Marcus, why did you pick this game?
Because both of these teams are in the Premier League's Big Six. Both are, I guess at this stage, they both have title ambitions. And, this is a head-to-head where we're going to see who is really about that top 4 life and who's maybe still got some work to do. Tottenham just narrowly edged Liverpool last season. And, these games, they've been good for the last few years. It's kind of 2 evenly matched teams. They play similar styles. Both have charismatic managers. And this game should have been held at Tottenham's new stadium, but it'll be at Wembley because Tottenham Stadium is 4 to 5 months behind schedule. The construction. It's
yikes.
Yes.
What can you do?
Wait Hart Lane is what it's being called.
Wait.
Some circles.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. A friend of mine.
My game of the week is Watford versus Man United. Watford hosting Man United, 12:30 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah.
These are
Liverpool's at 7:30, which means you have to find a buffer in between.
Right, for sure. Watford is 4-0. They have 12 points in 4 matches. Man United sputtering at 2-2. 2 wins, 2 losses.
Wow.
So it's sort of definitely too early to be giving Watford the Leicester City treatment. But, I mean, as of right now, they're just fun and exciting and, you know, shaking up things in the Premier League. And I think everybody's pulling for them. I mean, I don't need to see Man United go to Watford and give them their first loss of the season. I want Watford to be 5 wins in 5 matches. So
yeah. You asked me yesterday why they are 4-0, and I just said, they're playing well.
Roberto Pereira has 3 goals, and he's their leading goal scorer, followed by Troy Deeney, who has
the
2 goals. So,
yeah, no, they're Watford season couldn't have started better. They've already got 12 points. You know, they're one of those teams that still just, when they start the season, the name of the game is safety, avoid relegation, and yeah, good for Watford.
Let's go. The Hornets.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on another edition of the NESN Soccer Podcast. If you are listening on YouTube by chance, stop doing that. And next time you listen to our podcast, do so through iTunes by going to iTunes and searching NESN, NESN, and finding our podcast page. You can subscribe to the podcast page where you will be updated on your cell phone every time a new NESN Soccer podcast is uploaded, as well as any other NESN podcasts. But thank you for joining us.
Yes, and make sure to rate and share the podcast,
yeah,
and review it.
Tell us we're good or bad.
Yeah, that way other people can find it and either agree or disagree with you.
Exactly. And tweet at Marcus at MKOmard.
Yeah.
Or if you want,
I'll get right back to you too.
Myself at Mark D. Benz. And thank you again for joining us. Enjoy your soccer this weekend.
Boy, I tell you so. Come on!